Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Jubilee Circle. Welcome to everybody here in the room. Welcome to those of us who are joining us live on the YouTube. We are happy to have you with us this morning. 2, 3, 4. How does it feel to be one of the beautiful people? Now that you know who you are, what do you want to be? And have you traveled very far, far as the eye can see? How does it feel to be one of the beautiful people? How often have you been there? Often enough to know. What did you see when you were there? Nothing that doesn't show. Baby, you're a rich man. Baby, you're a rich man. Baby, you're a rich man too. You keep all your money in a big brown bag inside the zoo. What a thing to do. Baby, you're a rich man. Baby, you're a rich man. Baby, you're a rich man too. How does it feel to be one of the beautiful people? To a naturally happy to be that way. Now that you found another key, what are you going to play? Baby, you're a rich man. Baby, you're a rich man. Baby, you're a rich man too. You keep all your money in a big brown bag inside a zoo. What a thing to do. Baby, you're a rich man. Baby, you're a rich man. Baby, you're a rich man too. Everybody. Baby, you're a rich man. Baby, you're a rich man. Baby, you're a rich man too. One more time. Baby, you're a rich man. Baby, you're a rich man. Baby, you're a rich man too. Oh yeah. All right. So yeah, we're talking about wealth today. During this VIA Transformativa, we've been talking about the barriers to love, and wealth can be a big one, a big barrier to love. So that's what we're going to explore today. A joke is told about a local charity that had never received a donation from the town's banker. So the director picked up the phone, got him on the other line, and said, "Our records show you make $500,000 a year, yet you have not given a penny to charity." The director began. Wouldn't you like to help the community? And the banker replied, "Did your research show that my mother is ill with extremely expensive medical bills?" "Oh, no," said the director. "Or that my brother is in a bind and he's unemployed, or that my sister's husband has died, leaving her broke with 4 kids." "Oh," the director said, I had no idea." So the banker said, "If I didn't give them any money, why would I give any to you?" It's been said that people who are already wealthy stay that way because they don't give their money away. But if you listen to those who have amassed great spiritual wealth in their lifetime, you know that that's completely backward. The best way to amass great amounts of spiritual capital, and even sometimes material wealth, is to give it away. If you listen to that Jesus guy, the best way to achieve spiritual wealth is to sell everything you have and give it to the poor. But you know, that's an instruction that few of us are really ready to go and do.
So we continue to feel like we're in poverty, even though we live in this land of plenty. The spiritual masters say if you really want to grow your wealth, though, you can't hoard it. You got to give it away. You got to give it away wastefully, joyfully, and not worry about whether your needs will be met, because they will, with plenty and then some. And when you can trust that spiritual law, that giving and receiving are the same, then you get to say, oh yeah, please rise as you're able. And we open our celebration in the same manner every time by remembering the 4 elements, the water and the air and the earth and the fire. And we burn black sage as a reminder that this is a safe and a sacred time, and also to encourage you to set your own intentions, for spiritual wealth, for spiritual peace and growth, as well as an intention for the rest of the world to enjoy that as well. And we also center ourselves in this sacred time and space by calling the 4 directions. I invite you to turn and face the east. Thank you, Holy One, for sharing this day with us, for making it available in all its glory and its wonder. We didn't do anything to deserve this beautiful day. We didn't do anything to make the sunshine happen. So give us a heart of gratitude, Holy One, for the sun as it shares its light and its warmth with us and with everyone, without any conditions or expectations. Quarter turn to the right, we face the south. We thank you, Holy One, for the warmth of the south that shares itself without regard to our comfort or discomfort. It is the heat, Holy One, that brings forth that sweat on our brows, underneath our underarms, the dampness under our clothes. But Holy One, let us be grateful for that moisture-inducing heat of this fiery season. Quarter turn to the right, we face the west. We thank you, Holy One, for the west as it shares its wisdom of rest and relaxation with us. As this day draws to an end, let us be thankful for the opportunities that we have to share with those around us. May we also let go of those moments when we failed to share, when our learned selfishness reared its ugly head. Help us, Holy One, to just forgive ourselves and seek to relearn the power of giving and receiving. Quarter turn to the right, we face the north. We thank you, Holy One, for the north as it shares its profound stillness with us. Like a morning after a fresh snow, help us to experience that holy quiet, that perfect stillness, where we can clearly hear your voice calling us to share the quiet, your holy quiet, in this noisy and busy world. Help us to slow down, Holy One, and share the stillness that is you. And as we turn back toward the center and have a look around the room, everybody here has that innate sense of generosity, that urge to give, not just to those that we love, but those we don't even know, perhaps, and perhaps even those we don't even like all that much. But I invite you, jubilants, get in touch in this moment with your inner sharer. It's still there. It might be buried by years of looking out for number one. But here in this safe and sacred place, let us learn we're all number one. All the children of God are special, and none of the children of God are special. We are all worthy of sharing and being shared with. And we are all here yearning to give and to receive, so we can say, oh yeah. All right. So remain standing. We'll do a little opening song. This is actually a children's song from Malvinia Reynolds, who wrote Tiny Little Boxes. But this is one of her little children's songs. But, you know, we're all children, so we need to keep learning. So we got a little magic penny for us this morning. All right. Here we go. Oh, and if you're watching and you want the bulletin, we have bulletins in here, but if you're watching on YouTube and you want a bulletin, go to jubileecircle.com and you can download one and have a look. You'll have all of the readings and the lyrics and everything you need. Here we go. 2, 3, 4. Here we go.
Love is something if you give it away. Give it away. Give it away.
Read each other.
Love is something if you give it away. You end up having more. It's just like a magic penny. Hold it tight and you won't have any. Lend it, spend it, and you But love is better if you don't refuse it. It's a treasure and you'll never lose it unless you lock up your door. Love is something if you give it away. Give it away, give it away. Love is something if you give it away, you end up having more. So let's go dancing till the break of day, and if there's a piper you can pay. For love is something if you give it away, you end up having more. Love is something if you give it away, give it away, give it away. Love is something if you give it away, you end up having more.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I'm giving my love to you, Jim.
All right. So welcome again, everybody, to Jubilee Circle. Y'all may be seated. Thank you so much for being here. Just a few details about us and some announcements. We are an inclusive, what?
We're
That's pretty impressive, isn't it?
Yes.
We're all trying to, learn new words up here, so. Exactly. Swear to drunk I'm not God. It's all that day drinking. We are an inclusive, what?
It's a long U,
It's right.
not a short U.
That's all right. It's been 2020 is still going on, right? I mean, it's still, right? 3 years later, whatever.
After effect.
All right. So we are an inclusive, that would be the word, inclusive progressive interfaith community here in Columbia, South Carolina. We teach the timeless common wisdom of love and unity that you find in all of the mainstream religions, metaphysical philosophies, mysticism, and inspired secular and religious leaders and teachers throughout the ages. We use popular music and teachings and weekly celebrations, educational and artistic events, and other community building activities as we seek to create a space for everybody to experience their own transformation from the inside out so they can go and beach that transformation in the world. And we believe we're all here to expand our souls, to find that deeper meaning to life and renew our commitment to love and peace and justice, learn how to love wastefully, and undergo a transformation from the inside out to discover how to live more fully into our higher divine self. And we also recognize we're part of God's good creation. We are formed in stardust as well as love and joy. But we forget that. We arrive on the scene and we see you over here and me over here and them over there. And we start judging things and we start saying, I like this and I don't like that. And so we look at people and oh, they're beautiful. Oh, they're ugly. They're good. Ooh, they're bad. They're generous. Ooh, they're stingy. Ooh, they're loving. I like that. I like that. And these people, they're just
Recalcitrant.
obstreperous. Well, you got another one?
Bruce, come
Refractory.
on.
Refractory, okay.
Untoward.
Untoward. Rude. Just plain old rude.
Evil.
Right, unseemly. I like that. But let us remember our function here, Jubilants. It is to remain open-hearted, to be that love that we have never left, to meet everyone out in that field beyond right doing and wrong doing, where we are all still unified so we can bring that love back out into the world and make everybody say,
Oh, yeah.
right. So we got lots of stuff coming up in the next month. Next week, we're going to use music from Curtis Mayfield. We're going to explore the barrier of peace. Yes, peace can be a barrier to love, so we're going to explore that. We had our first round of improverts Friday, and we had a good turnout. We had a bunch of folks come and play. Was it good, Jim? Did you enjoy it? I hear you and Gail really got into it. So, and Bob too. Bob was here. Yeah, was it fun, Bob? Yeah, it was different. Yeah, improverts is different. So if you've ever wanted to do like improv. And just in a low pressure area, place where people are just having fun and playing games. Improverts is the place, and Friday, June 10th will be our next one. Beth will be leading that. Friday, June 17th, we're going to be back in our occasional series of Jubilee Circle in Conversation. Al Black is going to join us to talk about the Baha'i faith. So if you're interested in what the Baha'is believe, and how they live that out come June 17th. For that, there will be a potluck meal beginning at 6:30, and the program will begin at 7. And I am going to host a workshop. Y'all get to be guinea pigs if you want to come. It's I'm trying this out. It's on its training wheels, so I'm going to try this out. It's called Getting Unstuck on the Spiritual Path, 6 Steps to Awaken. This will be Saturday, June 18th from 9 to 1. It'll be next door in the Soundy School space, since we've been renting this space out to make some money. So folks will be in here, but we will be next door. And if you're feeling sort of stuck on the spiritual path and wondering if you're making progress, this workshop is about giving you a map to awaken, to get moving again in your spiritual journey. And so there'll be some light refreshments available. I've put it from 9 to 1 so we can just get out for lunch. So I don't have to feed y'all except for donuts and fruit and that sort of thing. So there'll be a little bit to nosh. We don't want you hangry.
Don't forget the ketos.
Oh, I'll bring the keto snacks too, so there you go. So yeah, join us for that. That'll be Saturday, June 18th from 9 until 1. And I'm excited. I'm excited to share this information, to share this workshop, and hopefully it'll be something that will be helpful to everybody. So please mark that on your calendar and join us. And of course, the group, Course in Miracles group meets on Wednesdays at 7:30, Soundy School at 10:30 every Sunday. Are there any other announcements? Yes, Bob.
Could you tell us a little bit about Michael's little soiree tomorrow night?
No, because I don't know.
Maybe keep
That concert Michael's doing tomorrow
Oh,
night.
yeah, cool. Tomorrow night, Michael's going to be at Westwood High School at, I think it's 6 o'clock,
Okay.
and it's the Community Symphony Orchestra that he's in.
Okay. Community Symphony Orchestra, Westwood High School at 6 o'clock
6
tomorrow. Okay.
I don't know how much it costs,
Okay.
but we're rich, so we don't care.
Right. So Westwood High School, 6 o'clock tomorrow.
Yeah, it's exit 21 on I-77.
Exit 21 on I-77, and it's the community orchestra.
But
Okay.
I'm sure the high school orchestra is going to play also.
Okay. So it's a night of orchestras.
And if you've never been to these
Oh,
high school
boy.
things, they're really good. I've been to a lot of
Okay.
them now. They're really, really good.
Yeah.
All of them.
All right.
It's entertaining. It's not boring.
That's right. Any other announcements that I'm missing? I can't remember everything. Okay. All right. Hear these wise and holy words. Oh, man, he is on it this morning. From the Hebrew Scriptures, Amos 8:11 through 12. The time is surely coming, says the Lord God, when I will send a famine on the land, not a famine of bread or a thirst for water, but of hearing the words of the Lord. They shall wander from sea to sea and from north to east. They shall run to and fro, seeking the word of the Lord, but they shall not find it. From the Jesus story, Luke 16:1 through 8 and 13. Then Jesus said to his disciples, there was a rich man who had a manager, and charges were brought to him that this man was squandering his property. So he summoned him and said, what is this I hear about you? Give me an account of your management, because you cannot be my manager any longer. Then the manager said to himself, what will I do now that my master is taking the position away from me? I'm not strong enough to dig, and I am ashamed to beg. I have decided what to do, so that when I am dismissed as a manager, people may welcome me into their homes. So summoning his master's debtors one by one, he asked the first, how much do you owe my master? He answered, 100 jugs of olive oil. He said to him, take your bill, sit down quickly and make it 50. Then he asked another, how much do you owe? He replied, 100 containers of wheat. He said to him, take your bill and make it 80. And his master commended the dishonest manager because he had acted shrewdly. No one can serve two masters, for they will either hate the one and love the other. From A Course in Miracles, chapter 16. Your task is not to seek for love, but merely to seek and find all of the barriers within yourself that you have built against it. It is not necessary to seek for what is true, but it is necessary to seek for what is false. Every illusion is one of fear, whatever form it takes, and the attempt to escape from one illusion into another must fail. If you seek love outside yourself, you can be certain that you perceive hatred within and are afraid of it. Yet peace will never come from the illusion of love, but only from its reality. These are wise and holy words. Thanks be to the holy. All creation is holy word. All creation speaks volumes of the holy. Hallelujah. Oh, yeah. Love is something if you give it away. Give it away. Give it away. Love is something if you give it away. You end up having more. How does that work? How does that even work? When you give something away, I mean, it's gone, right? In the ego's world, sure. If I give something from this table to somebody and they take it home, well, it's not here anymore. But that's a material thing. And we like to think love is a material thing. We like to think if I give you love, then you'll give me something in return. And that's how the ego works. That's how the ego looks at love. We talked about that last week. I mean, I want to know what love is. I want to know that you love me. So I give you love and I expect it in return. And when it's not returned, what do? We get revenge. That's what we do. But love is only something if you give it away. Everything in this world is only something when you give it away. A Course in Miracles says that we should never want for anything that we cannot give away. And so when we want something that's just for ourselves, that's the ego, that's selfishness. Everything that we get, whether it's love, whether it's money, whether it's time, whether it's talents, it's something to be extended out into the world. It can't just be for our own betterment. It's got to flow through us. God cannot do for us what God cannot do through us. So if you want love, if you want money, if you want friends, you got to go out there and give something. You got to go out there and be what you want to attract, what you want to see more of. And you know, some people do this on the negative side. If you look at politics right now, sometimes I look at some of these positive quotes, you know, of like, be the change you want to see. The people who are trying to oppress and trying to roll back rights, they're being the change they want to see. And you want to see how effective it is? Just watch the news for 5 minutes. And so if you doubt me when I say, if you want to see love in the world, go out and be the love, go ahead and look at the opposite of what's happening. Because people say, I want a world where rights are rolled back. And they're making it happen because they believe it. We don't believe it. We don't go out in the world and go, I want a world, a society that is equal, that is full of equity, that is full of love, because we don't believe in the power of that. But we believe in the power of hate. We believe in the power of exclusion. We believe in the power of oppression. We do. We believe in it fully, and that's why we see it. That's why it's happening. Every week I invite you to believe that love is stronger than that. And it is. We just haven't tried it yet. So let's try it. Every day we try it a little more. Either this stuff works or it doesn't. And if you see it in its opposite, you see how it works. The folks who have been trying to roll back rights have been working for it. They've been working on it for 50 years. And they're seeing the fruition because they believed it, no matter how long it took. Do we believe it? Do we believe in the power of love? Because if we don't, it's not going to happen. We got to believe it. It has to be something that we live every moment. Every moment. But you got to give it away. You got to put it in the world for it to be effective. Love is something if you give it away. Give it away. Give it away. Love is something if you give it away. You end up having more. Breathe deeply. Whew. Our song this morning comes from folk singer and songwriter Susan Werner. The song is called Help Somebody, and it comes from her 2007 release called The Gospel Truth.
I got plenty and then some. What do I do? Got plenty and then some. What do I do? Got plenty and then some. What do I do now?
Go out, help somebody.
Get plenty and then some too. I got a roof over my head. What do I do? Got a roof over my head. What do I do? Got a roof over my head. What do I do now? I go out and help somebody get a roof over their head.
I am happy to say this morning, my fellow jubilants, that I have plenty and then some. In fact, I would say that the vast majority of us in this room and watching on YouTube, whether you believe it or not, you have plenty and then some too. According to research from the Pew Center, when compared to the rest of the world, 56% of Americans are considered high income by a global standard, which means they lived on $50 a day back in 2015. And 32% of us can be considered upper middle class, which means we live on $10 to $20 a day. And only 2% of Americans, by a global standard, would be considered poor, living on just $2 a day. So what that means is, if you've got a roof over your head, if you have food on the table, a bed to sleep in at night that's enclosed by like a house, you are already wealthier than more than half of the rest of the world. Now, most of the time, my first instinct is sort of to sneer at people who tell me, oh, count your blessings. But jubilants, we so often get caught up in our own problems and our feelings of lack that we miss the forest for the trees. No matter how financially poor we think we are at the moment, the vast majority of us have lifestyles that people in other countries and other places around the globe, they only dream about. So yeah, this is a moment when we can stop and count our blessings. But it's also a moment about how we can, thinking about how we could spread those blessings to help somebody else get plenty and then some too, because as Gandhi once observed, there is enough in the world for everyone's need, but not everyone's greed. But while we are pretty darn financially wealthy here in America, I would submit this morning that most of us around the world, and especially maybe here in America, we are living in spiritual poverty. Everybody talks about God, no shortage of that. But what's being offered to us most often about God and about how God works in the world can be compared to junk food, or perhaps Chinese food. It's filling for an hour or two, and then you're longing again. You're all hungry all over again. Popular religion, it is it is heavy on showmanship, light on theological heft. We're told that God is either a harsh taskmaster who punishes us for our mistakes and sends us to some fiery hell if we don't get our beliefs or our actions just right, according to some church's interpretation of Scripture, or we're told that God is really good. And if you just believe that and act rightly, according to some church's interpretation of Scripture, you're going to be blessed with all the material goods you could ever want or need or wish for. And often these views of God tend to be one and the same, because if you don't follow the prescribed beliefs and actions, this God turns on a dime. It can go from a good, benevolent God to a condemning one, just like that. So people are starving out there. They're starving for some sort of deep spirituality, that assurance that God is neither a harsh dictator nor a happy, slappy Santa Claus who knows if you've been sleeping and knows if you're awake and knows if you've been good or bad, so be good for goodness sake, and then hands out all those material goodies for your moral track record. No, people are yearning for a relationship with the God, the holy, the divinity that resides within each of us, that higher divine self that allows us to see the innocence of the world despite all the ego's evidence to the contrary. We're not finding that in most churches today, evidenced by the fact that the fastest growing segment of the religious population are those who claim no religious preference at all, or what the pollsters have come to call the nuns. And not nuns like Catholic nuns, but N-O-N-E-S. In 1948, 2% of the population of the U.S. were nuns. But last year, the Gallup poll showed 29% are claiming that designation. Most of those, about 40%, are under the age of 30, and globally, the unaffiliated make up 16% of the population and actually is the second largest religious group in almost half the world. That's a trend right there. The time is surely coming, wrote the prophet Isaiah all those millennia ago. Says the Lord God, when I will send a famine on the land, not a famine of bread or thirst for water, but of the hearing of the words of the Lord. And I believe we are in that famine right now, jubilants. Turn on the news, social media, you'll see we are all starving for some holy words. We're starving for loving words that can set this world right and bring us back together and remind us of our unity and not our separation. Within each of us jubilants, we have plenty of those words to share. The key to feasting on them is to turn away from the junk food fed to us by the fearful and open ourselves to that bountiful, holy love that we already possess. It's already within us. And this just sounds crazy to our ego, but you know, Jesus has a joke about that. But most preachers are far too serious to laugh at the punchline in today's parable from the Jesus story. It's easy to see why, because usually whenever Jesus tells a story, whoever is cast in the character of master is usually God. But if you read today's story in that context, you get this really disturbing picture of God as a deity that praises us and even encourages us to deal dishonestly with each other and with God. Here we have this guy. He's working for the master, and he knows this master is about to fire him because some coworker snitched on him about being crooked. And the guy is all worked up because if he loses his job, he doesn't know what to do. He's not strong enough for physical labor. He's too proud to beg, so he figures if he cuts deals with all of the people who owe his master money, then they'll like him enough that perhaps when he's unemployed, maybe they'll take him in and support him. I don't know. But he goes down the list with this agenda to ingratiate himself. And he ultimately gets something, more than the money for the master. So he cuts these deals. So now he's prepared. Boss can fire him. That's all right. He's squared everything away. Got a lot of people who owe him a favor now. But surprise of surprises, the boss doesn't fire him. Instead, Jesus says the boss man is pleased. This guy is shrewd. He's dishonest. But man, look at him make those deals. You see why this story kind of gives preachers fits, because it puts us in the position of having to defend a God that rewards liars and cheats. But if we look at this parable in its deeper context, we find that instead of this story being a parable about God, it is a joke. And the Pharisees, who are the ones listening to this little story, are the butt of the joke. You see, the master is not God in this story, but it is the Pharisees, which Luke describes as lovers of money. The master thinks the worker is ripping him off, so he asks for an audit of his accounts. But before he can do that, the guy goes out and cuts some deals, gets the master just a fraction of what he's owed. And usually this would make the boss mad, right? That they owe us far more money. Go get the rest of the money. But no, the master understands what the worker did, and even though it was dishonest, it made the master look good in the eyes of those who owed him money. While the manager may have shorted his boss on some accounts, the goodwill that he created, the fine reputation he gave his boss as merciful, was far more worth money to the master. It's true of religious leaders these days. Their reputation, that's their stock and trade, man. They know that even if they lose a little money here or there when the IRS comes calling, or perhaps they get caught in some other kind of swindle, they can ask for forgiveness, and their faithful followers will more than make up for whatever money they might have lost. But here's the best part of the joke that just sails right over the Pharisees' heads. The manager in the story is really doing God's work when he goes and cuts all those deals with the master's debtors, because what he is doing is the holy work of forgiveness. Even if he has that ego-driven agenda of ingratiating himself to those debtors, God is still using him to mend relationships and forgive those who have been put in debt by the master. And so this is the crux of the joke. According to Australian pastor Peter Lockhart, he writes, I think Jesus is saying to the Pharisees and scribes who see themselves as his master, what I am doing brings honor to all of us, to you as well. And rather than grumbling, you should be commending me for doing God's will. So the true message of this story is that worldly wealth isn't the path to God. Instead, the path is in relationships. It's in forgiving the people who we believe owe us something or have slighted us in some way. This is a story about building spiritual wealth by letting go of our fear that we'll be screwed over by others and instead loving them despite their flaws that we want to project onto them. Which, of course, to the Pharisees was all just crazy talk, which is why they didn't get the joke. You know, it's been said that you can't, if somebody's salary depends on not getting something or not understanding something, they're not going to understand it. So the Pharisees' power prevented them from getting this joke. But this is the heart of Jesus' message. He constantly has told us to act in ways that the world calls insane by forgiving everyone, turning the other cheek, going the extra mile, inviting people to your parties even though they can never do anything for you in return. Sell all you have and give it to the poor. Everything Jesus tells us to do is crazy according to this world. But Jesus is saying it's the ego's world that's nuts, because it teaches us that we're separate from everyone else and we have to compete for resources, and there's lack in both money and wealth and power and love. To Jesus, that's crazy talk. Instead, the only sane thing to do in this world is when you got plenty and then some, is that you help somebody else get plenty and then some too. Because if we don't, then the joke's on us. Breathe deeper.
I got supper on the table. What do I do? Got supper on the table. What do I do? Got supper on the table. What do I do now?
I go out
I help somebody
get supper on the
table too. That's what I do.
'cause I got it to give.
Got to give.
I got it to give. When you got enough to give away, that's the only way to live. I know it's an odd place to end, but that's where it is. The reason that the nuns left the church in the first place, according to all the other surveys, is because they found it to be judgmental and homophobic and generally exclusive of people considered those people by those who were accepted by the church. Instead, what these nuns crave, as Jesus tried to point out in his joke, are relationships. Back in the years when I taught religion at Midlands Technical College, the major class assignment in my comparative religion class was for groups of students to create their own religion. Now, the ones who took it seriously and didn't create religions we already have around shopping and football and money, they really based their religions. They thought about it. They put some thought into it. And their religions were all based on building deep, lasting relationships. Not just between the adherents of that belief, but with the world. Every one of those religions had festivals, they had gatherings, they had other ways for people to come together and really connect with one another, more than just like on a Sunday morning. But what each of these religions lacked, every single one of them, was a concept of either eternal hell or an eternal heaven. The afterlife didn't interest these students. Instead, their concern, like that of the so-called dishonest manager, was to create meaning here, in this present moment. The most meaningful thing that they could think to create was lasting, deep, and intimate relationships with one another. These kids, they deeply understood that true wealth can only be found in forgiveness, in restored relationships, in reaching out, becoming the love that they wanted to be in the world. They instinctually understood what A Course in Miracles said from today. Your task is not to seek for love, but merely to seek and find all the barriers within yourself that you have built against it. These students knew that most modern religion, instead of freeing us from our barriers to love, seek to just erect more barriers by pointing out who is saved and who is damned, who's good, who's evil, who we should judge, who we should accept, recalcitrant. And more people are waking up from this kind of religion, the famine that it produces, because they want to feast on words of love and healing and relationship. And that may be bad news for mainstream religion, but it's good news for the world, because it means more people are realizing that love and forgiveness are the keys to real wealth, which can't be found in money or power or prestige. That manager in Jesus' joke, he stumbles onto the truth because of his own fear that he's going to be fired. And that fear created a hell for him, and our fears create our own hell for us every moment, because we have located our happiness or love somewhere outside of ourselves in the form of institutions or money or a good reputation or the newest gadget, much like the Pharisees in Jesus' day. But every day, we reinforce that fear when we judge people, when we hold grudges, when we refuse to forgive either ourselves or others. But when we finally get fed up with the hatred, when we get fed up with the greed, when we get fed up with the violence and the indifference that our collective ego has created in this world, perhaps too, we will feel the motivation to try the other way. Because there is a better way, jubilance. And that is to create peace. That is to create harmony and joy by forgiving all of those around us that we believe owe us something. We settle accounts with them. We let them off the hook. We stop blaming them for our problems and instead see the true source of all the problems as the ego's lie that we're really separate from each other and from God. Will people still take advantage of you if you're so forgiving all the time? Well, of course. That's the way ego-driven people work, who fully believe in this lie of separation. Like the Pharisees, they're going to always be looking for an angle, and some may even see their dishonesty as God-ordained. Gee, we don't see that in the modern world, do we? But when you encounter people like this, you have a choice. You can respond to them in fear, or you can respond in love. And you will know that you are in fear because your heart will close and you will start to judge them. And you will complain about them. You will hold a grudge against them for how they treated you so wrongly. But if you're spiritually wealthy, jubilants, you'll see their actions, and instead of jumping to judgment, your first gut response will be compassion. And as Marianne Williamson says, when people do take advantage of you or tempt you to judge them, what they're doing is they're really showing you their wounds. A Course in Miracles says every action is either love or a call for love. And when people try to abuse you, they're just calling for love, like a child showing you their boo-boo, Marianne Williamson says. The parent doesn't get mad at the child for getting hurt. No, they just kiss the boo-boo. They try to make it better. And people who are stuck in their own ego world of separation and competition, jubilance, they're wounded. And when they treat us or others badly, they're just showing us their wounds. It's just a call for love. And we can either judge them out of fear, or we can love them and kiss their boo-boos. But as we said before, being spiritually mature doesn't mean being stupid. If another person does mean you harm in some way, whether physically, mentally, or spiritually, forgiveness doesn't mean you got to be their buddy. You don't have to go to lunch with them. You don't have to give them the keys to your car. It does mean you have to stop judging them and instead look beyond their ego. See their divinity, no matter how deeply it might be buried at the moment. And you will know that you have achieved this great spiritual wealth, jubilance, not by how many hours you sit in church or how many spiritual books you read, but whether or not your first reaction to anyone in this world, no matter who they are or what they do or have done to you in the past, is to shower them with your wealth of divine love, to give it wastefully, not expecting anything in return, because that is no joke. Oh yeah.
I got supper on the table. What do I do? Got supper on the table. What do I do? Got supper on the table. What do I do now?
I go
I
out
gotta help somebody
get supper on the table.
That's what I do.
'Cause I got it to give. I got it to give. When you got enough to give away, well, it's the only way to Cause I got it to give. I got it to give. When you got enough to give away, well, it's the only way to live. Going to heaven, what do I do? I'm going to heaven, what do I do? I'm going to heaven, what do I do now? Go out, help somebody. I go out, help somebody. I go out, help somebody. Get to heaven. That's what.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah. Got some old time religion going on this morning.
Way to go, Trish.
Yeah, Trish. Woo-hoo.
Whoop, whoop, whoop. Losing magic penny.
All right.
Lost it anyway.
Get that penny.
And this is where you get to help somebody. Yes, we all
Plenty of money.
survive and thrive in this world because others have helped us. There's no person out there who is a self-made man or woman. You think you are, then you are not looking deep enough. I hear all these businesses like, I'm a self-made man. It's like, okay, who built the roads that come to your business? Who put the street lights in and the infrastructure in? No, you're not self-made. Everybody helps everyone else. And if you have something, it's because somebody helped you get it. Even if you don't see it, even if you don't acknowledge it. And the reason that Jubilee Circle is still here, all the COVID and all that fun stuff, is because you have helped us. Everyone in this room has helped us in some form or fashion by giving money, time, talent. However you have helped us, we are grateful. And so we thank you for your help. We ask you to continue your help. And you can go to jubileecircle.com and you can press the button there and you can give on Venmo or PayPal. And you can send an old-fashioned check, Post Office Box 4611, Columbia, South Carolina 29240. And we are grateful for your help. And we here in the building are going to have a little talk-back time. So for all of y'all watching us on YouTube, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for joining us. And please remember, as Meister Eckhart says, if the only prayer you ever say your entire life is thank you, it will be enough, because gratitude, that counting of your blessings, it is a wonderful way to bring yourself into this present moment, to know that no matter what has passed and no matter what has coming up, in this moment. In this moment, all is well, and there is no worries. No, don't worry about a thing. Every little thing going to be all right. So if the only prayer you ever say is thank you, it will be enough. And so we say, thank you. Help me say, oh yeah.
Yeah.
We'll see y'all next week.